Okay, we've had several negative broadcasts in a row now, very negative indictments of individuals who richly deserved some criticism and some condemnation, namely 88 millimeter flak. However, I want to demonstrate with my oratory skills that I can indeed be positive when approaching the subject of an individual who is praiseworthy. And today we come to praise an individual and hold him forth as an example of manhood and nobility and so forth and so on. And the individual we come to praise today is West Coast Wolverine. West Coast Wolverine has one of the best channels on YouTube right now. He makes multiple videos in a day sometimes. They're short, which is great for the average individual's attention span. And he is, as I said, one of the best guys on YouTube right now because a few years ago, more than five, you wouldn't have seen people like him on YouTube. And one of the interesting things about uh, Kenny Cam here is that individuals like him are finding out about YouTube and gravitating and sharing slices of their real lives with us. Where a few years ago you wouldn't have seen these guys on the internet at all. So we're seeing some real individuals doing real things instead of an internet full of grifters who are fake and gay. So West Coast Wolverine is best known as a weightlifter. He is an extraordinarily strong individual. And if he just did weightlifting on his channel, that would be good enough. But he also gives excellent advice and exhortation, encouragement, and good all around broadcasts. And what makes his channel unique amongst all the strength training and weightlifting channels on YouTube is that West Coast Wolverine is a stonemason. That's right, he's a stonemason. So he works all day laying block or, you know, d- laying stone, as the case may be. And that's no joke. I know many of you have never done manual labor of this sort, but it's incredibly difficult work. It's not only technical, but it's hard. And you have to be deft. You have to have deft wrists and a deft ability to, good ability to use your trowel skillfully, but you have to have strength and endurance to move the stones or the blocks all the time. You have to have a good eye to lay your string and your level and all that, and you have to be quick. You have to be quick to do your mortaring. Spread your mortar when you're actually laying the blocks, because the mortar you have a limited time on each batch of mortar to get it done. So you have to be big, strong, and quick. And this West Coast Wolverine, it very much is. But the point of the matter is, he goes out all day and he does this, and he still has the energy and the wherewithal and the drive and the natural uh, internal fortitude to come home or go to the gym and lift weights. And this is what makes him head and shoulders better than almost every other channel, either be it the blue collar guys that don't lift weights or the white collar guys that lift weights and don't do manual labor. See, he combines the best of both. So you'll have guys like Flack with his bear belly and everything. He's riding his lawnmower around in circles all day, and he'll say he comes home, he's too tired to work out, he's too tired to lift weights, he's too tired to do anything but eat some food that's going to give him another heart attack or stroke. And that's all he can do after a hard day of riding his lawnmower around in circles or running a chainsaw for a couple hours. A light chainsaw for a couple hours. It's not like a big logging chainsaw, above the 600 range stills or whatever. He's using a light, 200 range chainsaw to trim branches and for a couple hours at most. So Flack is a typical example of the utter sloth and of the lack of spirit in the American working man. And West Coast Wolverine is an example of the best um, version of the American spirit, and that's what's unique about him. And he is the last representation of what the American spirit is. I might add his full channel name, and I neglected thus far to put it in, is West Coast Natural Wolverine. So this guy is all natural. He doesn't use steroids or any kind of testosterone, even though he's in his uh, he's right at 50, I believe. He's 50 years old. Does not use any of that. No juice. And he's very proud of that fact, and he's worked hard to achieve what he's achieved without the benefit of chemical substances. And this is what makes him a truly extraordinary individual. But as I said, he is the personification of what it means to be an American. And a lot of people talk about heritage Americans nowadays. There aren't many heritage Americans left anymore. Usually you find them in prisons. Uh, there simply aren't many left. If you look at the descendants of Theodore Roosevelt, who's not the Roosevelts were not heritage Americans. They were Dutch that came over in the 1840s, I believe. Uh, so it may be they may have been older than that. Don't quote me on that one. But the point is, there are not many heritage Americans left that are worth a nickel. Uh, Most of the family's been wiped out. There are very few people. I am an example on both sides, or whatever, of people who are actually descended from pioneering stock. Who covered wagons and lumberjacks and cowboys and all that stuff. Miners, the original stock. A lot of people claim to be from this stock, but they're not actually from that stock. They're more recent immigrants. There, a lot of the Ellis Island people claim to be heritage Americans, and they're not. What you're looking at with West Coast Natural Wolverine is a guy who is like an American from the beginning of the American state. So you could put him back 200 years or 100 years or at any period of time since 1776, since the initiation of the United States, and this guy would fit right in. And he could go anywhere in the world in the last 200 years, and people would say, "Hey, look, that guy's an American." He's clearly an American. He could go to darkest Africa in the 1860s or the 1840s, and they'd say that guy's an American. Somewhere in Russia or China or South America in the 1850s, they say that guy's an American. They would recognize him because he represents a type of the American spirit, the indomitable strength and bluster and courage and hard-working nature of the American type. That's what Americans were, the real Americans. There aren't many of them left. Most of them didn't have many kids. Wave after wave of immigration, white European, or supposedly white, Italian, Polish people, like Flack is descended from. He pretends to be a heritage American, but he's not, just because he's from Kentucky. He's not actually a heritage American. West Coast Natural Wolverine is an actual original American type. Now, I don't care what his background is. I'm not interested in it. I'm pointing out that he is actually an American type. I don't care where he came from. You can nitpick as much as you like in terms of his actual heritage. He is a living representation of what an American has been to the rest of the world in the last 200 years. That's a fact. let's look at aspects of him. They used to call men like him brawny, and he looks like a Robert E. Howard uh, novel character or something envisioned by Louis L'Amour. These type of heroes, shape wise. Now look at the hair, no man bun. This is the way real men usually wear their hair if they're going to wear it long. I have to keep mine short for reasons related to work primarily, you know, and but hopefully when I'm his age, I'll have similar hair. The shaven head is gay. Only cuckolds and gay men used to have shaven heads. It doesn't make you look tough or anything, He also doesn't wear his hair constricted in a man bun, which is also gay. And so this is why, West Coast Wolverine is such an extraordinary figure. And moreover, one of his great strengths, he made a video called "I Refuse to Cope with Anything," and I thought that's a great outlook, and it's also practically prehistoric. It's practically medieval. Everybody is so desirous of coping with things, and there are whole mechanisms for coping with things. And when you cope, your body sends a message to your brain saying, "This guy's a faggot. Use less testosterone." And that's how people end up needing testosterone because they spent years coping. When you don't cope, your body your body sends a message to your brain saying, "This guy's a serious business. And please set your settings to increase the testosterone because we're going to need more. Full steam ahead and damn the torpedoes." So this is the foundation of his ability to be strong without the use of steroids or testosterone at an advanced age. And, he's clearly strong. Now, there have been a number of videos made making fun of him, making fun of his fight, his workouts in terms of fighting and stuff. Here's the bottom line. Guys making fun of him hitting the bag. And, this and that. The bottom line is West Coast Wolverine, the natural Wolverine, is a guy, if you ever sparred with a big guy, you're not going to knock that guy out with a single punch. His head's too big and it's too hard. So, yeah, you might get lit up. But one blow from him is blunt force trauma. That's the bottom line, And so he only has to hit you once. And, yeah, I know that's a kind of a stupid cliche with some boxers, and yeah, he's only got a puncher's chance or whatever. But in a street fight, he only has to hit you a couple of times, seriously, and you're not going to probably hurt him. That's the thing. That guy is very hard to hurt unless you're his size or bigger, and there aren't many guys his size or bigger getting into street fights. So chances are, you have to remember, he's naturally that size. He's naturally his size, and it's a whole different ballgame. If you've ever actually known there's block laying and stonemasonry tends to be big guys who are light on their feet, and there aren't many of them. If you've ever fooled with block laying or worked, in any capacity around that kind of stuff, those guys are no joke because they can carry their bulk because it's natural to them. A lot of people bulk to just make themselves look big, puffing themselves up like a toad or whatever, but it's just for their own ego or their own insecurities, and so they can't carry it is the point. This guy can carry his weight, and so if he's fighting a guy who's just fat or whatever at his size, it's going to be a whole different ballgame because that guy's actually going to be slower than him, and he's not going to be able to hurt him as bad. So the point of the matter is, yes, his punch technique could be improved, but there's no point making fun of him, and it's kind of stupid and counterproductive because it's not safe. It's not a good idea to make fun of a guy that size, and it's stupid because don't criticize his fighting skills. It's pointless. He doesn't heavyweights. aren't known for their wonderful technique. Just a very little improvement, and he would be a devastating puncher. Like, he could have 2 lessons, and he'd be a devastating puncher. So, I think most of the criticism and mockery of him is not warranted. People make fun of people that actually are authentic people doing authentic things, and there's almost nobody doing authentic stuff on the internet. Flack admitted he hardly ever even cuts down trees. He just drives around on his lawnmower looking for somebody to weed eat for him. That's not real blue collar work. That's not real entrepreneurship. That's fake and gay, if anything. So uh, please like and subscribe to West Coast Natural Wolverine, and go back and like his videos. His life is like his videos are like chapters in a book. So I suggest you start from the beginning and like them all the way to the current time, the last 3 years or however long he's been on YouTube. And I suggest you watch all his videos. I think you can profit from them. You can profit from his example. You may not agree with everything he says, but you have to understand this is a force of nature. This individual is an example of true American breeding and ingenuity. And there are not many left like him in this world. He's an endangered, almost extinct species. And as such, you need to enjoy his content for what it is, and appreciate his content for what it is, and appreciate him for what it is. Because when men like him are gone, people like you are even more screwed than you already are.